everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and tonight I just finished watching episode 1 of season 2 of Invincible, and yeah, this was a pretty good opening. This was definitely a setup episode. You know, I didn't think it was the strongest episode or even like particularly amazing, but it definitely like was setting up a lot of where the arcs are gonna go, where the characters are gonna go, some brand new villains, and we actually start off seemingly in another world. You know, it's at first you're like, oh, is this a dream sequence? It's just like some kind of weird simulation, because Mark has partnered with Omni-Man and they have conquered the world and they're taking down resistance groups, and Mark's killing all his friends and, you know, in really terrifying ways, paralyzing Adam Eve, and yeah, just being horrible and evil. And so that's the foot that we're starting this episode off on. And this guy mysteriously disappears through a portal, and what we learn is that this guy is actually capable of opening portals to other worlds. His main restriction is that he seemingly has to go to the same location on a different world in order to like open a portal there, you know? So that is an interesting twist on the idea, and he recruits the help of, I forget the name, the two brothers, the ones who are constantly cloning themselves, and no one ever knows, like neither of them at this point are original because they're constantly convinced that they are the original one, and so they clone the other one, but then when one of them dies, vice versa, they just you know, that one now clones the other one, meaning he thinks he's the original one. But you know, of course they are scientific geniuses, and so basically this guy, I suppose his intention is to gain all of the knowledge and share it with everyone in across the multiverse, and this way he'll create ultimate peace. But what ends up happening is that Invincible, who, you know, this whole episode we're seeing that, like, obviously it's only been 1 month since the big, you know, climactic fight that what are they calling it, post Omni-Man, or the fall of the Titans or something like that, but basically it's been 1 month since the end of the last season, the devastating loss of life in Chicago, and basically, yeah, Mark is unsure what his place is, if he should be doing anything. He's scared of becoming his father, you know, just everything that you would expect that something that traumatic would happen, this big upheaval of what you thought was the truth. Yeah, so of course he's going through all of that to a pretty cool montage sequence of him saving the day, but just definitely not being in it in the moment. And so he agrees to work with Cecil, so they send him out on a mission to stop these two brothers because they're up to something. And so he goes in there and he fights them, and of course, because no one's talking to each other, he's just sitting there and he's told to just fight them and stop them, whatever it is they're working on, not knowing anything about the dimension portal opening guy. It ended up causing this big explosion, and a whole bunch of different versions of those two brothers from different worlds all end up dying. And the guy, the portal opening guy, he's now got like this giant brain, and now he's, you know, he's got all these memories of other versions of him, I suppose, being you know, their worlds being destroyed by Mark and his father, because I guess in most of the other universes, Mark actually helped his dad take over the Earth. So, you know, now he wants revenge against Mark for all these other universes doing that. So yeah, that's pretty much where we leave the episode. Mark gets accepted to college, and you know, we're just gonna see how this all plays out. And yeah, I thought it was a nice enough beginning episode. You know, I'm excited to see where it really goes. You know, they're playing around with some interesting things. You know, I think obviously the evil versions of Mark, and I guess even more evil. Well, just a version of Omni-Man who was successful, not more evil, just a successful version. You know, they're gonna go off and become probably the main villains, or at least a major plot point of this season. And it's interesting that we're already touching the multiverse. You know, like, this is only season 2 of this show. Obviously, we're really invested in, like, well, where is Omni-Man? What's he off doing? You know, the other Viltrumites are supposed to be showing up at some point to finish what he didn't finish. But now we're going into the multiverse, so I don't know. It's an interesting thing to introduce so early in a story like this, which, you know, that's what this show does, right? Like, they just play around with wild concepts, and they don't, like, pull their punches out of fear of, like, how wild is this, how crazy is this. So yeah, just, we got a multiverse portal guy now, and he's got a big brain, and he's angry at Mark, or at least different versions of Mark and Omni-Man, for doing what they did in those other worlds. And yeah, the brothers, or at least one of them, is all burnt up and nasty looking, but he's still alive, so he'll probably just clone himself again. And, you know, they're kind of those characters that will never die. What else? Oh, we also got the Immortal, who is now running the team, whatever this team was called. I kind of forget their name, but now he's been put in charge because the robot leader, who's now a kid because he got himself a body, he's experiencing fear for the first time. He's hesitating, so now they put in the Immortal. And of course, he does not trust Mark at all, and so that's going to be a point of conflict between the two, and eventually Mark's going to have to earn his trust, and I'm sure there's going to be a big moment with that. But yeah, overall, just, you know, it's a nice setup. Nothing too major happens, you know, and I think it's, while they didn't directly say that this was a different world, I think it was pretty obvious that that's what that was. And yeah, I guess I'm excited to see what happens. I hope that they don't end up becoming the main villains, is just literal evil version of Mark. You know, it's just bad Mark versus good Mark, because I feel like there's so many more interesting things that they could do. So hopefully they kind of like do play around with the multiverse a little bit, but then close that door, you know, because I think in this universe already, with all the other Viltrumites and whatever else is out there, I feel like he's got enough interesting things in his own universe without having to resort to multiverse stuff so early. You know, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening there. But yeah, Invincible episode 1 season 2, pretty good start, and I guess we'll see where this is going. We'll see how crazy it gets. This guy he has a big brain now. I don't know. You know, it's pretty silly looking, but you know, he's like kind of like Kang for a second, because he opens this laboratory door and it's a bunch of different versions of himself all working on things. I'm like, he's got kind of the Kang dynasty, which, you know, in a time when every superhero property is just doing the multiverse thing, you know, it's interesting that, like, okay, I guess Invincible's also gonna do that, which, you know, I know this is all based on the comics and it happens in the comics, but, you know, it is just kind of interesting that, like, you know, just multiverses everywhere. Everyone gets a multiverse, so okay, yeah, I guess why not. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about episode 1 of Invincible. You know, were you surprised by anything that happened, or were you kind of surprised that, like, you know, maybe they should have dropped 2 or 3 episodes just so we get a little bit more development? Because while I did like it, you know, it definitely does just feel like setup, you know, like we're just kind of lining up the dominoes, but none of them have fallen over yet, which is fine. But you know, we'll see how interesting this gets. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.